Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I'm Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss the issue, are professors bad teachers? And I'm going to look at some of the reasons why you may think so and what are some of the things we can do about it. So let's begin. Now, if you have made the transition from your high school to college, you may find that the teachers in your high school were actually better than what you encounter in college, especially if you are going to one of the research type universities and colleges or institutions. So now, if you think back into your school days, you will find that a lot of the teachers were very motivated. They knew the various skills about teaching. They were experts in the art of teaching. They had good presence in many cases. And some of you, if you have gone to coaching institutes, know that several of the teachers in coaching institutes have a lot of flair. They almost have acting skills. They have passion in the way they teach their subject and so on. And this is something very important. And this is one of the reasons why students at high school level often join coaching institutes, because they can see that they are taught the same subjects such as physics, chemistry, and math in a much more passionate and exciting manner, which makes it much more interesting. So now let's look at what actually happens when you go to a typical university. Now you encounter a large number of classes. Now you are in some kind of semester system, and you find the professors are often very boring. They have monotonous voice for that matter, and they essentially lecture a lot, but they do not teach much, and also that they give very difficult assignments and examinations, and often the problems which they give are tangential to whatever material is taught in the class. So let's look at some of the reasons why this happens. And here I'm talking more about a typical professor at a research university. So the number one thing you need to keep in mind is professors at research universities are selected for their research skills and not for their teaching skills. So this is the way it is right now. And so what happens is that the selection committee look at the number and quality of the publication. They look at the field in which they are doing research. Is this field a hot field currently? Will it get grants from guys who give funding, and so on? So what happens with this is that they select people who are very good in writing. And this is something to keep in mind, that most research people are essentially good in the written language and not in the spoken language. So if you look at the typical PhD curriculum, you are always writing papers, you are writing thesis, you are writing proposals for your PhD and so on. And every now and then, of course, you need to speak. If you are somebody who goes to a conference, this is more required. But there are many people who submit papers only to journals. And in fact, in the academic world, journal publications are given far more importance than conference publications are given, because journal publications tend to be peer reviewed. So now what happens with this mindset is that you get a lot of introvert people, you get reclusive personalities, and essentially these people are very good in writing, and therefore they have completed their PhD and they have gone on to get a job as a faculty at a typical research university. Now the second reason is that most professors at universities have no training in teaching. Now, if we look at a typical teacher, this person needs to go through some kind of certification, or they need to actually go to a college and get a degree in education. So there are essentially bachelor's degree in this field and so on. So people not only know a subject, but they also do a lot of study in the art of teaching, in what is actually retained by the students and so on. And this particular topic, unfortunately, is not taught to most PhD students, and this is a great lacuna in their training, that PhDs are essentially trained in the art of research and not given any training in the art of teaching. Now suddenly they join a research university and they are told to teach a class of 100 to 200 students. The only thing they can do at that point is prepare some notes from a book and then start lecturing. So essentially what happens is that the person essentially tends to write down a lot of material which he has written in his notes and teach. And after doing that for many years, many of these people do become good teachers, but it's a very difficult and sometimes uphill climb for them because they have not been taught about teaching, so they do not know whether the students are retaining any material or not. And typically new faculty often try to teach a lot of material. They try to teach material in a very difficult way. So if something can be taught using scalar or vector notation, they may use tensor notation because they are more familiar with this from a research perspective. And so many such things happen, and the students have a lot of difficulty in grasping things which are taught by these typical research university professors. Now the third issue is the art of showmanship, or we can even say acting. So essentially, if you look at teachers who are in the coaching institutes or who are in various platforms in Udemy, YouTube and so on, you will see that these people have learned the art of showmanship. So whether it is somebody like Sal Khan, who is in the Khan Academy, or the person behind Physics Wala, all these people are essentially very good in presenting rather boring material in a good and exciting manner. So essentially they are exuberant, and some of this excitement is communicated to the student. Now unfortunately, most research scientists or people who do PhD do not have this kind of mindset and are not able to communicate their excitement to the people. So what happens is that while doing the PhD, whatever little excitement or exuberance they had is kind of removed from them, and so it's very difficult for these people to get excited. But after a long time of teaching in the university, they sometimes can regain their excitement and become better at teaching. So again, it's harder for a newer faculty to suddenly start teaching very well. Now the fourth point is the growing dissonance from student, and especially you can see this between the bachelor's degree student and the research professor. So what happens is that the bachelor's degree students somehow finish their high school and they join the university. They have done a lot of coaching, they have given standardized tests and exams, and they are already pretty burnt out. So now they encounter a professor whose mindset is very different. This person essentially loves to do research, and therefore they teach the courses as a researcher would. So very often they will teach the bare fundamentals of a course, and then they will give a lot of very difficult problems. Their exams are also going to be very difficult, and sometimes they may assign projects and term papers which are primarily intended to feed their research curiosity. So all this is going to make life very difficult for many of the bachelor's degree students who are not interested in all this theory, and they are not interested in learning things without applications in mind. So one of the things to interest students is to always present to them the reason why they are studying a particular subject. So that is something which many of the research type professors fail to do. They straight away go into the mathematics with no preliminaries as to why you need to study the subject. So this is another reason for the growing dissonance between the bachelor's degree students and the research faculty. Finally, the fifth reason is that modern research has increasingly departed from whatever is taught at a bachelor's degree level in college. So you may have many professors in mechanical engineering whose research interest may be in something like nanoscience, or they may be looking at high performance computing or uncertainty quantification. And there may be professors in computer science who are looking at quantum computing or deep learning. And so what happens is that when they are spending most of the time doing research on these esoteric fields, they come to the class and they have to teach very fundamental subjects such as mechanics or strength of materials or database systems. There is a big mental change for them, and they sometimes are quite bored in teaching some of these classes. So this is happening more and more because a lot of the research nowadays is very multidisciplinary. There are a lot of people working in the engineering departments whose research has become more science based. So essentially you find that more and more of the mechanical engineering people are doing research which is borderline physics, chemistry or math, and these kind of things make it difficult for these people to actually teach very fundamental courses like machine design or any design related courses for that matter. So again, this is something you need to keep in mind. Now all these problems are of course there. So what can you do about this as a student? Now one of the things of course that you can ask questions to the professor at the end of the class, and this will certainly bring out their excitement, and you will find that many of the professors who seem very boring in their teaching actually get excited when you ask them questions. Second thing is that if they have any time set for meeting students, then you should go to them and you can ask for solutions to various problems and express to them various doubts which you have, because during this time you will find their personality is very different. They are very affable, they are very amenable to any suggestions you have, and it will also help them to improve their class. For example, if they do realize that nothing which they are teaching is getting into your head, they may actually slow down. Essentially, many people nowadays teach from PowerPoint, and this can become a problem for people because generally the students are not able to process the information at the speed in which it is taught using PowerPoint. So it's very important to slow down a class in many situations, and sometimes it is actually better to teach less material and make sure that the student understands the material by doing examples in the class. So you can of course request the professor to do a solved problem at the end of each class. This is certainly a very good tactic which also helps to solidify the thought process and the fundamentals in the mind of the student. So these were some aspects I had for you about are professors bad teachers. If you had any experience in this regard, whether as a teacher or as a student, please make it a point to write it in the comment section and give any feedback about how you think the teaching system can be improved. One of the things which colleges are doing is that now they are getting teaching professors, because there is some belief that teaching and research may actually be orthogonal concepts. So if you think this is true, then you can mention that also, and let us think about ways about how we can improve the teaching at research universities. So I'll end this video here and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.